coolest coast, it is time for Coffee on the Coast. Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge. Delighted to welcome back to the show Deena Larsen with the Lakeshore Seed Collective. Hi, Deena. So good to see you.
Hi, Tina. Good to see you too.
One of the great reasons for seeing you too is it is a harbinger of spring. You're like the sign that spring is almost here.
Wow, that's good to know. I'm doing my part. I saw a bluebird yesterday, so I think spring is coming.
Oh, nice. There were like 10 robins that were flitting around in the yard the other day, and I was like, oh, that's a great sign.
Yeah, it is.
So, we're talking Lakeshore Seed Collective, thinking spring, thinking gardens, thinking growing, and you've got a seed swap coming up. Let's talk about the seed swap, but let's talk too, like, when is the right time here in the coolest coast region to start thinking about your garden and planting your garden?
Well, if you're a gardener at heart, probably November is when you start planting and all of that. I try and get my seeds by the beginning of January. I like to have them in hand so I know, but really, right about now, I will start some of my seedlings um, and get them going into grow light indoors. So I'll have nice established plants by the time it's time to put them outside. So, really, right now, we're in the thick of things, I think.
So, for the region that we live in, is that a pretty good method, starting the seeds indoors and then transplanting them once they get a little hardier?
It all depends what they are, but things like tomatoes, yes. I mean, you want to put your seedlings out at the last frost date, which typically has been May 15th. But with climate change, our zones have actually changed through the um, that federal government. When they say what zone we're in, we're actually bumped up to a little bit warmer one. But yeah, so you want to have established plants ready to go outside by May 15th. There are other things that are more frost hardy you can actually put in the ground way before that.
Okay, let me ask you one more gardener level question. How do you approach planting a garden? Do you like map it out and put your seeds in that way? What do you recommend?
In the early days, if you're a beginning gardener, I would say map it out. Just be thinking about what you want to have as the end result. Just like in teaching, I was a teacher for 30 years. Begin with the end in mind. What do you want it to look like? So, about every second or third year, I like to can tomatoes. So, if it's a canning year, I want to devote a big part of the garden to tomatoes. If I'm going to have a lot more lettuce type things, or I'm going to dehydrate peppers. So, I would say map out based on what you want. I've been doing it for
Mm.
so long. For me, it's like, okay, I had my legumes over there last year, so if I put some leafy things there, that'll be good. And I just kind of do it by what I did the year before.
So, and do you switch it up from year to year? Like if you had legumes in one spot, will you plant them there again, or do you try to do different things in different areas?
Different things in different areas. So legumes, they fix nitrogen in the soil. Nitrogen provides a lot of leaf. So if you have nitrogen fixing things in an area and follow it with like spinach and lettuces and kale, you'll get more leafy things based on that. Other things are really hard on the soil, so you want to not have them always in the same spot, depending what kind of compost or if you're using fertilizer.
Oh, that's good to know. What's an example of something that's hard on the soil?
Corn. Corn takes a lot of nutrients.
Oh, okay.
I've gotten to the point where I don't grow corn. I'd rather go to the farmer's market and let other people grow it because theirs tastes better and I don't have to worry about it, all of the room and everything else. So,
Oh, nice. What's your favorite thing to grow?
well, my older sister, we hated peas growing up and she hates it when I say this now, but my favorite thing are sweet peas, edible pod peas.
Mm.
My goal was always to try and have them the first day that I was done teaching, the first day of summer, and twice in 30 years I did that to just come home from the school year and just go in the garden and eat a fresh pea. Oh, nothing better.
Yum. So, do many peas make it from the garden into the house, or do you end up like just eating them all out there?
I plant enough that they make it in. I have enough to share. And I would say a close second would be tomatoes. There's nothing better than a homegrown tomato. The things in the stores pale by comparison, in my opinion.
Yeah, that seems true with a lot of produce, right? The things that are grown in our own gardens are more tender, I don't know, more flavorful. I think because they haven't had to be trucked a distance, right? They haven't had to sit somewhere for a long time.
Absolutely. It makes a big difference.
Okay, so all of this leads up to the fact that the Lakeshore Seed Collective is planning a seed swap. And I'm going to put this graphic on the screen because it tells us the date, which is this Saturday. It's the fourth annual Lakeshore Area Seed Swap, Saturday, March 9th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Manitowoc Public Library. What is a seed swap?
Well, a seed swap is, I think of it as something like a potluck. It's a free event, there's absolutely no cost, and it's just a gathering of people to share seeds. So if you have extra seeds or seeds you don't like, or just you've tried a new variety and it didn't quite work out, or if you've saved your own seeds, you can bring them to the library. We actually have a donation container right at the entrance, so people can drop them off before Saturday if they can't make the event or they want to just not bring them the day of. So people will donate whatever seeds. We'll have them organized on tables up in the Belkansky room, and anybody who comes there can just help themselves to whatever seeds they would like to try.
Wow. So you don't have to bring your own seeds. Like if you don't have anything to share, that's still okay. And you can come and get some seeds to start for the first time, to maybe try something new. And some of these seeds might be things that other people have tried and loved, right? Things that they have extra of.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a great place if you're new to gardening. Seeds can get expensive, and maybe you've always wanted to try a couple different kinds of tomatoes or something else. This is a really, really good way to do it. And we would have had a fifth annual, but it was right when everything was locking down because of COVID in 2020. We had it all set to go, and then we thought, nope, we need to be prudent and stop. So we've been doing this for a while, and there are always a lot of people who come and say, oh, but I didn't bring anything. It's like, no worries. Gardeners love to share. We always all order way too much, so there's no guilt. It's a guilt-free event.
Nice. And there'll be some gardeners on hand. Like if people had questions about some of the different seeds, will there be questions answered?
Absolutely. I know we have one master gardener who will be there at the registration table. She's a wonderful resource. We've had others who have been in attendance, and the conversations that happen amongst gardeners. I learned so much from just being there. And, it, gardening is just an experiment, and it's always interesting to hear how other people do it. So, absolutely, get some answers to questions.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Okay. And is it all food-based seeds or are there other like plants?
Lots of flowers. We have a number of people who will save. It's really easy if you have zinnias at the end of the year, just let them dry, put them in a bag, and you have a lot to share. So there are a lot of flowers there. This is the first year where I've had a few people contact me or they've contacted the library saying, can we bring some plants? So there will actually be some live plants this year on a small scale. We want to, hopefully, that won't make too big of a
Oh.
mess and we can continue to offer that as well.
Oh, cool. So there might actually be some plants already starting to grow, and then seeds for flowers and that type of plant, and then also seeds for produce.
Yeah,
Is that the
exactly.
right, is
And
that the right term? Produce?
yeah, sure, that works, or
Okay.
vegetables. Um,
Vegetables,
to be
thank you.
To be clear, I don't think they're going to be seedlings for vegetables that people are bringing. I think some people are dividing the perennials from their yard. I know one person's bringing aloe vera, so people want just as a house plant. So I don't know. We'll be surprised, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. And that's part of going to a potluck, right? Like there's not a set menu. You never know, but it's always delightful.
Right. And there's always plenty.
So, is this like a once a year thing, the seed swap?
Yes, it is. We have it usually about the time when people are getting ready to start their seedlings so they can pick up seeds and incorporate that into their plan for what they want to grow that year.
So, looking forward, anyone that's watching this that might think, "Oh, what a great idea! I can save my seeds next year." What advice would you give them for planning ahead to participate in the seed swap by donating seeds?
I would say read up on it. The library has a lot of great resources. This is just a book on beginning seed saving. I own a copy, but I know the library has it as well. You have to do things differently. Like tomatoes, you have to let them soak in water for a while to get that outer coating off of them. Um, with peppers, it's a lot easier to just let them dry. I have some peppers here that I just let dry on the vine. I can just crack them open, the seeds are ready to go. So um, there's also some things about cross pollination depending on what you're growing. So I would say pick something simple to do and go with that.
Okay, so not necessarily every seed is worth saving, and you don't save all seeds in the same way.
For sure. And um, a lot of people plant hybrids. And if you save the seeds from a hybrid plant, you're not going to get the same thing that you planted. So those are created and crossed to get the best characteristics. But then the second generation, I'm going back to 10th grade biology when we learned about Mendel and pollination and all of that. Um, so what you want to make sure is you have heirlooms, or you want to have open pollinated seeds, because then what you see is what you get by and large.
Dina, we are so lucky to have you here sharing all of this knowledge.
Well, it's actually my friend Tammy is the driving force behind this. About 6 or 7 years ago, she found out Michael Field's Agricultural Institute in East Troy. She said, "Hey, they're having a seed swap. You want to come?" So we went, and we thought it was great. And she said, "We should do this up in our area." So she's the one who kind of got me started in this, and she gets a lot of the credit for bringing it to our locale.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So, viewers, we are talking with Deena from the Lakeshore Seed Collective because the fourth annual Lakeshore Area Seed Swap is happening this Saturday, Saturday, March 9th, 9 a.m. to noon at the Volkansky Community Room at Manitowoc Public Library. And of course, somebody doesn't have to be there from 9 a.m. until noon. It's kind of drop in, come as you are.
Absolutely. And I
Nice.
don't know if we have time for one more story or not.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
This is something that I'm going to be bringing. This is a fish pepper. What I did before frost is I just dug it up and brought it indoors, and it's still hanging on. So I'm hoping it'll go in the ground. But these are the peppers. They're a little bit hotter than a jalapeno, but they have a wonderful story in that they were grown in the Caribbean. And in about the 1870s, they found their way to Philadelphia and Baltimore area, and they kind of fell out of vogue. But there was a World War I veteran who had an injury that he learned that bee stings could help with his injury. So he gave some of these fish pepper seeds to a beekeeper friend. That person planted them and kind of revived this variety. And then the grandson of that guy in 1995, he made these seeds available to the public. So any fish pepper seeds that we have are all traced back to that one person. So it's the stories with all of these seeds and varieties. That's the part I find really exciting. And, I think having people there, they may say, I have these flowers that came from my grandmother, in England. And, that's another part of it that's the more humanistic than the scientific side of seed saving.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that story. I hadn't even thought about that. Right, tracing it back and that connection, that greater connection.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So
All right, and so you're bringing that plant on Saturday?
if the weather's nice, if I'm not on my bicycle, then I will bring the plant. Yes.
I love the image of you having it like strapped to your bike or like in a basket on the front. That's great.
I have a
That's
trailer,
awesome.
so I can secure it. Yes. Oh, but
And
I
does the
will. I
library
will have.
still? Oh,
Sorry, I forgot to say. I will have fish pepper seeds with me, so if people want to try this plant, they can take some.
yeah. And so the fact that you're growing it inside, is that a plant that's well suited to being indoors?
I don't know if it's well suited, if it would produce again, maybe if I treated it correctly, but peppers in a warmer climate are perennials. I mean, they will stick around. So I'm hoping that I can then bring it back outside and have it grow again.
Oh, yeah. Very
It's an
nice.
experiment.
Cool. So we're talking seeds. We're talking about seed swap. Does the library still have a card catalog that has seeds that you can essentially check out?
Yes, last year at the Seed Swap, the library unveiled the seed library that people can. It's on the first floor over near the windows when you come in. And Meredith Gudzinski has been amazing in helping us to get that going as well. But yes, that is still there, and it's well used from last report.
Wonderful. Very cool. Deena, thank you for taking the time to come and fill us with the flavor and the feeling of spring in anticipation for planting our gardens and the seed swap. One last time, folks, just so you know, mark your calendars this Saturday, March 9th, 9 a.m. to noon at the Manitowoc Public Library. Deena, we really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you giving the time to share this, and we do certainly do live in the coolest coast.
Thanks for watching this episode of Coffee on the Coast. My guest today, Deena Larsen with the Lakeshore Seed Collective. I'm Tina Prigge, signing off. We'll see you next time.